On First News today, what beautiful little flowers. It's a springtime, and these flowers, you'll see white ones and yellow ones and purple ones all over the place, but these flowers are for a reason, to attract bees, to help to feed this plant, which is a radish plant. As you can see here, this is a radish of some kind, and I'm going to ask the expert here in a minute. But this is one of the vegetables that is not finishing the season quite as early as some of the things I've talked about. Here's Steve Elrod, and Steve is the production manager for Condor Seed. And Steve, this is a radish.
Exactly right, George. This is a hybrid radish being produced for an overseas market.
Now, who likes these kind of radishes? Americans don't really go for this type of radish.
Well, this one here is what we call a Japanese type. It's long, slender, more like a carrot. Some of the others that we produce are the Chinese type, which actually resemble more like a sugar beet.
All right, now you have these markets opened overseas, and this, of course, this is not the size of radish that you'll see. This radish is actually, what did you say, like eating the trunk of a tree?
It'd be pretty close.
Yeah. Steve, this is an important time of the year for the seed business, and this is your time of the year.
This is when we're the busiest, right.
Okay, now what do you want to see here? I see that this field is lined with beehives of all kinds.
We use the bees for pollination purposes to help us get a better yield. And also keep some of the nosy people out of them.
Okay. And what about the different varieties? Now, this is a white flower. Over here we see some onions. Now, these onions will be soon blooming. They're not quite ready. These are pretty tight, huh?
Right. The scapes on them haven't opened yet. They'll be opening up in another couple of weeks, and the flowers will start opening from there. Which onyons get a big fluffy white ball on the top of them compared to the radishes we see here.
Now, those also are pollinated by bees, but I understand from some of you that they're rather cranky bees, huh?
Well, bees in particular don't like to pollinate the onions, whether they taste bad or because it's hot when they're blooming or whatever, but they get kind of cantankerous.
And what about the broccoli field?
The bees actually like the broccolis. The broccoli will have a yellow flower on them. Most of them in this area will be the hybrids, where you'll have a male line and a female line. Broccoli production does pretty well down here.
How about cauliflower and some of the other crops you have? You have radishes too?
All right, we have other fields of radishes. We've got a couple of cauliflowers, some artichokes, a lot of different types of Chinese cabbages, Japanese greens, Oriental type vegetables. We do some coriander production.
Now, at what point will you, now this field, you cut these plants down to the ground, won't you?
Right. We'll actually come in with a swather and swath it and lay it in a windrow and let it cure here for a week or so.
That's drying, you mean?
Exactly. And then we'll come in with a combine that's been modified specifically to do radish seed harvesting.
It's got a pretty heavy pod too, doesn't it?
It's got a pretty tough pod, but it's got a very soft seed in it, so it becomes a challenge to harvest it sometimes.
Steve, thanks for the visit. We'll be back visiting with Steve Elrod. Steve's the production manager for a company called Condor Seed, and they're the folks that make sure that we have plants in the future. I'm George Gatley on KYMA First News Today.